and welcome to the SOMA Talks Podcast, sponsored by Coda of Maplewood, the finest restaurant and bar in all of SOMA. I am your co-host. My name is Navlen, and I'm here with the lovely, the beautiful, the talented, the charming, the opinionated, the lightning rod, perhaps. Did I say lovely? I think I did say lovely, didn't I, Ileana?
Yes, you did.
I did. Ladies and gentlemen, Ileana, I just said your name wrong. I can't believe I just said your name wrong. All these years, we're working together on SOMA Talks, fighting with each other, and I was calling you Ileana. I had no idea that was Ileana, so I apologize. Until now, yeah. So Ileana C. Castillo, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay, thank you.
How are you, Ileana?
I'm doing good. How are you?
So what does the C stand for in Ileana C. Castillo?
It's C.A. Castillo.
C.A. Castillo.
Alexandra.
Alexandra. Ah, okay. So that's your middle name.
That's my middle name.
Oh, very good. I have a middle name too, but I don't discuss it with people.
Why not?
I don't like to. But Paul J. Haley. You know Paul J. Haley? You know what the J stands for, by the way?
What?
Jerk. True story. Stands for jerk.
Oh,
He's a terrible guy. Terrible guy. Yeah, you know what? By the way, people said, are you going to talk about Paul J. Haley on this podcast? And no, we're not going to talk about Paul J. Haley. We're not going to
talk about him?
No, we're never going to mention him.
Mad love, Paul.
Yeah, well, Paul. We're not mentioning him. By the way, he said he might be on the show next week. So yeah, he's going to be jogging by probably. Like he'll probably jog here 20 miles, do the show. And I got band practice afterwards, and it'll be off.
I have seen him many times.
Yeah,
he's everywhere when he's running. I'll give him props.
He'll make fun of the apothecarium, right? That's his thing, right? He likes to yell at the potheads as he's running by. Yeah. But look, in a little while we have, by the way, we have James Davis. He of the Black Parents Workshop. He's going to be joining us.
Black Parents Workshop, yes, indeed. He's coming in.
Yeah, so he's a friend of yours, I guess, right?
I've met him several years ago. Yes, we talk. He's a really good friend of mine. I have. Actually, I've reached out to him several times to give me some advice when it comes to the school district because my girls have had some issues with.
So he's a lawyer as well, right? As
I believe he is a lawyer, yes.
Right, and so and he's involved. He's representing this Columbia High School student, right? That's
yes,
the Sanchez signs. I'm not too on top of all that, but
I don't even think anybody really knows what really is going on. We just hear pieces here and down on Facebook, but no one has really told us this is what's happening. These are the evidence.
Right. Well,
people come up to me and ask, "Do you know?" I'm like, I don't even know Sanchez. I really don't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I right. I mean, my kid's out of the high school a few years, and it's funny. It's one of these things like when your kid's in school, you're like, I need answers. We got to get to the bottom. This is so important. And your kid graduates, and you're like, fuck it. I don't care. It's school. What do I care? It's nothing to do with me.
Do you have any thoughts about that situation?
I mean, why don't we wait for James and we can talk to the big guy himself.
I'm really curious to see what he has to say.
Yeah, no,
I really
do. Yeah, no, he's.
I'm sure he can probably enlighten us some details that we haven't heard before, or give us his opinion. Where's the situation right now?
And more on the BPW, the Black Parents Workshop. I mean, they've been involved. I know that they were involved years ago when
it started with Walter. Walter was the one that found it.
Right, and when the Maplewood cops supposedly, allegedly, whatever you want to call it, ran the African American kids out of town on July
4th. I was there actually that day. I was part of the tent of the bingo. I remember that, and I remember the commotion going. I didn't see what was going on. Then.
Yeah.
Little did I know it was about that.
Yeah, and I think they were involved, and
they were
I
indeed.
think a police chief, he had to look for a new job soon after. But but we got a lot to talk to James about. But Ileana, so I've been sending out polls, and I've been asking people, what do you want us to talk about? Who do you want us to talk about? And
oh my God, I see where this is going.
Right, number one topic people want to talk about, the Adirondacks chairs. The Adirondacks chairs in Maplewood and in the SOMA and South Orange. Now, I'm not that familiar with this because I'm married a long time, and my wife's really hot, so I don't need to swing. But if I wanted to swing, Ileana, I guess I would need to get one of these chairs, put it on my front lawn with a pineapple. Now, what do you know about this?
I don't know. I've been hearing about this for many, many years.
So have you ever, participated in you're single, so I guess you don't have to swing. You could do what you want.
I'm not that single. No, I am seeing someone, but at the time that I was single, have there been rumors about it? Yes.
Right. So
because that's something that is very like underground. Like we
yeah.
know it's there, but nobody dares to talk about it.
So you put the chairs on your front lawn. You need 2 chairs and a pineapple or something
The
upside down.
pineapple, that's a
And,
classic one.
and that's your way of letting the community know, hey, you know what? Come on over if you're interested in my wife or me, and we'll we'll trade places. So I don't know. So what? The wife goes to like the one house, and the husband goes to the other house, and they watch TV or
I've heard so many rumors about it. I don't even know which one to believe anymore.
they go like dinner first, or is it just
I've had people reach out to me, where can I do that? And I'm like, I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. Like,
yes.
like, what do? You go knock on people's door and say like, hey, I saw your signal.
Yeah, and they size you up and they look at you and they say, nah, not for me. You know, you're too short, you're too fat. What do you do? Right? Yeah, like you're more successful than my husband. I'm sorry, he won't have that. I mean, you know, like
What do you do? You pass someone's house and you wink them like,
what is the
I
criteria?
see you.
Yeah, man, 30 years in this community, I've never been approached. No,
I've never been approached too, but unfortunately, people always ask me, like, do you know about it? What do I have a sign that says Ileana knows everything? Like, I don't know. I really,
yeah.
I have asked around, and there's people like, yeah, it is true. Like,
So what I did was I just said, let's see what happens. So I bought a couple of these chairs. Now, I got them on Amazon. Now, the thing is, they're very hard to assemble. I didn't know if you ever had to put one of these chairs together. It was very difficult. I just couldn't do it. And I needed special tool, which I didn't have. You know, so long story short, my neighbor, he knew how to assemble it, and he did very quickly. And that got me thinking, why does he know about these chairs? So, right,
So let me ask you this:
So
what are the small chairs mean?
Right.
I mean,
the small one?
I see like 2 chairs and a baby chair. What does the baby chair mean? It's like, is that something else that it's new?
Maybe that means we're not available right now, or you have to deal with a family with like with a 2-year-old, and this may not be for you.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know, man, but I mean, it goes. I mean, I guess back in the 70s, had like the key parties. You put a key into a bowl, and
I heard that has happened in Maplewood.
They've done that too.
The key one. That one I did hear.
Man, I'm missing out.
Do you really want to do that?
No, I mean, I would like to be invited. You know, I would like to at least be invited to one of these parties, and and say, and when I could kind of be like all snooty, like, no, I'm sorry, look around the room. None of these women I'm interested in. But of course I probably would be. But that's how you play it, Ileana. You got to play it. You got to play it cool.
Oh
right?
my God!
In the swinging scene of SOMA.
The swinging scene here is. It's true.
Yeah,
it's out there.
Yeah.
You just have to know the right crowd and where to go for
Man,
that.
I mean, back in the day, you just got divorced, and that was it. Now you don't have to do that anymore.
You don't even have to be divorced.
Yeah, no, right, yeah. No, but that
Really don't.
Yeah, now you could just stay married and have all the sex you want. All you gotta do is buy a chair and put it on your front lawn. That's an amazing thing, Ileana.
Well, it's spring. All the chairs are going to start coming out, guys. So
I know. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those listening, all 3 of you, hopefully more. But yeah, just if you see one of those chairs. By the way, if anybody who is involved in this scene, man, anyone who's involved in the scene, man, wants to appear on our show, let us know. Reach out to us on SOMA Talks. You can reach out to us that way. You can send a private line to Ileana or myself. Navlen, and maybe we'll get you on the show.
I don't think anybody's going to come
you don't think
forward.
We could do it anonymously, like the anonymous posts on SOMA Talks. We could they could come in here with like a bag or something on their head, or
yeah.
So even we won't know who they are.
They
right?
don't know who they are. That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, if anyone's interested, except for Paul J. Haley, no. Paul,
Hey, maybe Paul might know a little bit about that.
Man, I would hate to think that Paul's involved in that scene. I would just feel sorry for like the other couple. But you know what? Maybe we'll talk to Paul next week. That's what we should do. We get Paul and a swinging woman. We get them in the studio together, and we'll
Swingers really don't come out like that often.
No, you're right. So,
Especially here in Maplewood, that everybody's judging you.
that's right.
Everybody's judging you. Even
right.
when you think they're not judging you, they are judging you.
Yeah, but now I realize I'm walking down the street in my shorts and T-shirt exercising, and the woman's sitting in the chair, and I didn't realize she was judging me. She was judging me. She's looking at that guy, go, nope, not him.
Oh my God. That's funny. You see it on SOMA Lounge or SOMA Talk. Everybody judging like why this person did this, why the person did that. They're all judging.
Yeah, no, I know. And this goes long. This goes way back, I guess. You know, the early stages of Maplewood. When I first moved to Maplewood Online, do you remember Maplewood Online? That was.
I remember MOL.
Yeah, and they all hated me back then. I hated you too, I think, right? But that's
No, you were. Did you?
I think so. Yeah, I wasn't well liked.
For those that don't know, explain to those that don't knew in Maplewood. Explain what was MOL.
Well, it stood for Morons Online.
Oh God, no.
No, it stood for Maplewood Online, and it's still around actually.
It was before Facebook became big. Yeah.
It was a site where you could post anonymously, and everyone would pick a name. You know, so I was Strawberry. That was my name, after Daryl Strawberry. And
I was Harley Quinn.
You were Harley Quinn. Yeah, that's right. And my wife was Algebra 2. She went by
remember Algebra, yeah.
Yes. But I was Strawberry, and what happened was everybody hated the Republicans, which they still do in town. And so I said, well, if I'm anonymous, maybe I'll just pretend I'm a Republican. I mean, basically, you know, I was doing Stephen Colbert's act, you know, from the
oh really?
Before he was on the Daily Show. Yeah, I would pretend I was this crazy, loud, obnoxious, insanely brilliant Republican. The only part that was really true was the brilliant part. But the whole everybody hated me, and then they outed me. They basically told everybody who I was. So all of a sudden, you know, people were like, you know, like knew I was this. So I had to run as a Democrat for the township committee just to prove to everybody I wasn't a Republican. Yeah, I ran against DeLuca actually.
Oh, really? At that time?
2010.
Running for TC or running for TC. Oh,
I ran in a Democratic primary, and DeLuca got I think he got like 2,000 votes. I got like 300 votes. But you know. But if you do the math, he was there 20 years. I had been there for 20 days, right before the election. So I think if I were there 20 years, I would have gotten like 9 million votes. So I always remind Vic that
I got more votes than you because when I ran for TC, I got 2,000 votes.
Did you get 2,000 votes?
I did.
You ran in a general election, though, right?
No.
Or did you run the primary?
No, I was with the primary. I was running against who was it? Oh, Nancy Adams and Greg Lumbridge.
Yes,
I was running, and I basically got all the Republicans. Independent votes. They all got the Democratic votes.
That's right. Yeah, I voted for you.
So, thanks.
Voted for you and Nancy. Yeah. So sorry, Greg. But
I like Greg.
Yeah, but Ileana's hot, Greg. What can I tell you? This is how I roll.
Go back to MOL. So you were Strawberry at the time.
Yeah, I was Strawberry. You were Harley Quinn. Yeah, and
I remember I had all the mean girls all behind me. Those were tough times, man.
Yeah, and I had the mean girls hated me too. But they like me now. Because we're all like old now.
MOL still exists. Yeah. I got there the other day, and it's still like the old. Everybody's still there.
Yeah. No, yeah. You see some names. You're like, whoa, I remember that name.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Right.
But now then came SOMA Lounge, and that kind of pulled everybody to that,
and then came SOMA Talks. Now tell me a little bit. You started SOMA Talks.
Not really. That's the thing. I didn't start SOMA Talks. SOMA Talks was started by a lady that didn't even live in Maplewood. She had a business, and I think she got booted out from SOMA Lounge, and she started. The name was South Orange Maplewood SOMA Lounge. It was very similar as SOMA Lounge. So she had like 600, 700, 800 people at the time. So then the administrator or moderator started kicking people out, and we all emerged to this group at the time. And she couldn't handle it because it was getting so popular. I was like, look, if you want, I'll take over, because she wanted out. She was going to delete the group. I was like, don't delete it. I'll take control.
Oh.
And she was like, okay. So she got out. She left me the group, and then I changed the name. I changed the whole thing, and that's when I changed it to SOMA Talks. So it's like all the people that have been booted out from all the groups end up in SOMA Talks. You got booted out from Maplewood Moms, you're in SOMA Talks. Right. You got Murders in the Lounge, and then they complain, oh, I got booted out from this and this and that. We're like, well, you're in the right place because we're all been kicked out.
The land of misfit toys.
It is. And I love it because it's such a dynamic personalities. Like,
It is.
You got John Sarantakis, you got Michael Goldberg, you got Jason Sipp.
Sippy, yeah. Sometimes, he's one of those names.
Post,
yeah. I like his post too.
Yeah, you got Jennifer Crone. You got all these Like Tracy Tyson, you got so many people. Like
Yeah, Tracy Tyson. Yeah, you know what? I met Tracy Tyson. By the way, our sponsor again is Coda. Okay, Coda Restaurant and Bar in Maplewood, which is, by the way, they got the best happy hour foods and great. Matter of fact, we were there a couple weeks ago.
We were.
And you spilled your drink all over yourself, and do you remember how great the service was? They came right by, cleaned you up, and everything. I mean, Coda's a great restaurant, but the reason I bring up our sponsor Coda again is that I met Tracy Tyson at Coda actually when she was, I think, a day before she was about to give birth. She was there with her husband, and it was like the next day she was, and she was awesome right from the bat, right from the get go. Met her. It was probably 10 years ago. How old are her kids now? I guess.
Oh, her kids gotta be 10.
Yeah, right. So
they gotta be 9, 10.
Must have been 10 years
ago. It's
ago.
been a while.
Yeah, I mean, and I love Tracy, but Mike Tyson is the second toughest Tyson in America. I think Tracy Tyson's the toughest. What do you think about that? She's a tough woman. You don't mess with Tracy Tyson. I found that over the years.
They say that Tracy Tyson family is like the Maplewood Kennedy.
Yeah, they are. They are the Kennedy. Yeah. I used to work at Eastside Fitness on Springfield Avenue years ago when I was huge, and her dad used to work out there. So
that would be interesting to invite that family because they can tell when they moved here how was originally Maplewood.
Maplewood royalty.
How was that's Maplewood royalty.
Yeah, the Marzanos.
The Marzanos.
The Marzanos. Yes. Rudy Marzano, who just passed recently, was a great man. He had a son, and then he had like 19 daughters, and they're all amazing. Every single one of them's amazing.
I've only met two, Mary and Ann.
Yeah, Mary and Ann. There's Alan. There's Liz. It goes on and on and on. But if Mary is the coolest. If you don't believe me, ask Mary. So
Mary, okay.
And I'm joking.
But yeah, that's how SOMA Talks started. So now we're like 2,500, and
but you have other sites too.
SOMA Parents. We
Right.
got SOMA Parents, and SOMA Parents was started by Tracy Tyson because she got booted out from Maplewood Moms, and she was like, you know what? I'm doing my own group, and now her group is almost 5,000 people there.
So that's 5,000 people.
Yeah,
over
now that's SOMA Parents. Yes,
and you're the moderator of both sites.
I'm the moderator. Well, I'm moderator both.
Yeah, and then you have the politics site too, which has a little.
It's very few people because a lot of people don't like it because they think it's the Republican folks there.
Yeah. I was a moderator of that site originally. You made me the moderator, but I quit because of Paul J. Haley. But that's why I quit. I couldn't take him.
The bromance.
Yeah, Paul. And I think I would ban Paul like every time he'd post something.
I'm sure you did.
And then you let him back in, and then I'd ban him again. That went on.
Oh my God.
So.
People have no idea how much things happen on these groups. Like the drama that happens behind the curtain. It's just like so high school. High school. Yeah. I'm not even going to mention the other group that I know everybody is dying for us to mention that group, but I'm not going to mention it. But man.
Yeah, it's
you know
what? If everybody got out and we sat around coffee or beer, or probably beer, everyone would get along.
Do you really think that's even possible?
I would hope so. I mean,
because there's some people that have crossed certain lines that it's hard to come back from.
Yeah, you know what? But MOL years ago, I mean, we were fighting like crazy, and everyone was anonymous, and then when people started,
but no one would call you racist at the time. Like people put it out there, like you're racist, like they defame your character in front of all your neighbors, and then your neighbors are starting to believe, well, maybe she is racist, and they don't even know you.
Yeah, no, it could be hurtful.
It's really hurtful.
Yeah, it could be.
I've had some of my sides. I don't know you, but I've had some really. Especially at my daughter's school, I see some parents giving me the dirty look and everything. I was like, I don't even know you. Are you even? Oh, but when I see who they're friends with, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why.
And it's strange because you're a Latina woman from the Dominican Republic.
My parents are from Dominican Republic.
So, and you grew up quite poor in the Dominican Republic.
I wouldn't call that. No.
Let's
not go that far. No.
I grew up very poor. I don't know if you knew that.
Really?
Yeah,
no, mom is she's a doctor. And,
I didn't know.
I'm an only child, so I would say I've been blessed. Yeah.
I grew up in Livingston, the streets of Livingston. Very poor guy. Yeah, I was actually in a gang.
Oh, really?
The bar mitzvah boys. Yeah, we terrorized the neighborhood. It was quite a scene. Yeah, I mean, I'm banned from Livingston. I can't get back in.
Are you really?
Yeah, I get to the border. They're like, sorry.
Oh, don't feel bad. I'm banned for several things around here.
Yeah, no, the bar mitzvah boys, we had a reputation, but we moved on. I mean, a lot of a leader became a lawyer. So he couldn't get too
I
involved.
forgot to ask you, have
Yeah.
you ever been banned for any group or a local group? Like, have you
No.
been banned from the lounge?
No, I
You're
don't
still
think
in
so.
the lounge?
No, but I don't go there, because I'm having so much fun on SOMA Talks.
Oh, everybody is always busting people's balls there, so
Yeah.
we don't take it that person. Really?
Well, you know what it is? I think the lounge, you need to have like your post approved, right? You know what I mean? Like, don't you need to post it? It needs to be approved by someone. Maybe I'm wrong
Yes,
about
they
that.
made it like. Well, they have a lot of people now. I got to give it
Yeah.
to them. They're almost 20,000.
Is there? Yeah, that's a good.
I don't think
Yeah.
I could handle 20,000
No.
opinions.
No,
It's 2,000 and it's
Right,
a lot.
yeah. But but what's good about SOMA Talks is that if we want to go ahead and say something, you can say it, and for the most part, you'll let it kind of sit out there and ride, and obviously if things get
We do have a little bit of guidelines because Facebook does come in a lot. Sometimes Facebook does delete some things, and people are like, "Did you delete that?" And I'm like, "No, that was Facebook." They do alert you, like, "We
Yeah.
had to delete this. It's going against our standards."
so you get that.
So we do get that. It's not. Sometimes it's not really us. It's them.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if you get so many delete things, they can delete the group. They're
Right.
like, if you have, they give you chances. But that's why sometimes we are like, give people like, hey, tone it down, this and that. It's not us. It's Facebook.
Right, yeah. So sometimes they're like, "Why'd you delete it?" It's like, I had nothing to do
No,
with me.
it's Facebook.
Yeah. So okay, things I didn't even know. So who is your favorite poster on SOMA Talks?
Oh my God. Hands down, John Sarantaki.
Oh yeah, Sarantakis.
Hands
Yeah.
down, man.
No,
Hands down.
Have you met? I don't think I've met John, but have you?
Oh, I've met him several times. Yes.
Yeah. So
He's a very interesting character.
so
He is.
is that Greek? Sarantakis?
He
I
is
guess-
Greek,
I
he
guess.
is Greek,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got many. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
John Sarantaki is probably in my top 3, but there's others posters that I like too. Like, I always like. I'm looking always forward. Like, oh, let me see what
Yeah.
this person's going to say. Like,
Yeah. So I thought you were going to say Paul J. Haley. I had a joke. I had a joke lined up there, but yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So would he be your least favorite poster, Paul J. Haley, or I would if he were.
is he your least?
No,
favorite
he is actually not my least favorite.
No,
poster.
no, he's not.
Yeah. Now, who's
He's not.
my favorite poster? Sarantakis is up there.
Yeah,
you know?
Sarantaki is up there.
Yeah, that Jennifer Crone, she's tough.
Oh, she's tough,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
she's so
Yeah,
smart.
she is really smart. Yeah.
Like when I met her, I was like, "You must be one of the smartest." She laughs. She's so nice. She's very nice. When you meet her, she's so nice.
Yeah. No, I remember one time somebody said something, one of these things to her, like, help me to better understand. I'm confused. Help me better understand. And they were like really trying to put down something somebody else had said that they thought was questionable. And Jennifer Crone just jumped right in there. I'll help you better understand.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
You know which poster that every time he posts, I feel like I need someone to translate what he says? Christopher Traska.
Traska, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I even text John. Can you just tell me one line? What does they mean? He was like, I know. It's just like.
Yeah, that's right.
Like for him to say one idea, he just marinated to get to the point. Like
Yeah.
I need someone to translate.
Very creative guy, Chris Trask.
Very
On
creative.
MOL. Do you know what his name was on MOL? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh God.
I
Wait.
remember. Yeah,
Was it Traska?
yeah, it was Chris Trask.
Correct,
Very
yeah,
creative
yeah,
guy, right?
Yeah, it was Traska.
I'm not gonna be able to figure out who that is.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, no,
He's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Smart. He's always on top
yeah.
with the.
Yeah, he knows everything.
That's another topic we have to discuss that I know a lot of people have been wanting about the school district.
Yeah.
And the Board of Education.
He knows all that. Years ago, he actually ran for the Board of Ed. I think he almost won, but
Yeah, sadly, he
and
did not
I think the
win.
worst job in the world is being on the SOMA Board of Ed. I feel bad for anybody who gets elected to it. I think it's a nightmare situation. I would not want to do it. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. So I voted for Chris because I really wanted.
I've
to
had
be,
people reach out to me like, "Oh, you should go," and I'm like,
The
"Nope."
Board of Ed. Nah.
Nope.
Run for township committee. Or
No, because
something
I
like
know I'm going to
that.
have a problem with half of the people that are in thing. Why am I going to put myself in that situation?
Right. Now, run for township committee. That's fun. I mean, you stand, you get to be mayor. They give you a mayor's jacket. You
I
walk
really
around.
did not. I hated it running. It was one of my worst. It was. They didn't make it easy for me.
Yeah.
They did not. People were
No.
so nasty.
Yeah, no, you got. Yeah, I got abused.
They
too.
even called the cops on me.
Yeah, right. That's right. I remember that.
to the group who should not be mentioned.
Yeah.
They called the cops on me.
Yeah, no, that wasn't right. Yeah, I called the cops on you too, by the way.
What did I do?
Yeah, I just thought you were a little underdressed for, with the bikini while you were handing out the pamphlets. I was like, that's not right on Maplewood Avenue. She shouldn't be trying to win the election based on her looks. I just, I was a little. But,
oh my God, that was a tough day. Like it was brutal. Anybody that runs for TC or even for the board of ed, it's tough because you're going to encounter people that are going to.
You got to have thick skin,
It does.
Sheena Collum is a good friend. She sometimes you read, she'll post something and she's great, and someone will just come after her and be as mean as can possible, and she's just humble pie and friendly, and explains back why they're wrong, and it takes a lot of time. And,
I'll give her that.
I think I'd be fuck you. You know what I mean?
I've had TCs that have been totally awful answering me on
responding back
and then and I'm like, how the hell can you respond to me in public like that? You're our township committee. You can't do that to your constituents. Like,
I guess
right then. Your community.
Well, maybe they're jealous of you. That's what I think
No,
it is.
it was just like...
Especially the women. They're like, look at her. She's so attractive.
I'm not going to say names because she's running again, but it's right there. Like, literally, it's right there. If you want to look for it, it's in SOMA. I think it was in Village Green, actually.
Yeah, it's on the internet, so it's got to be
It was on the internet.
Hey, so we got to wrap things up because we got James Davis coming in just a few minutes. So I'm really excited about this. Again... Coda is a great restaurant. He is our sponsor. We highly recommend him. Luke is the owner. We highly recommend you stop in for their happy hour. I just got some sliders there. We got great drinks. The food, and then you hang out for dinner, and you're gonna see people that you know, neighbors, friends. It's really like it's like the Cheers of
it's from 3 to 6 to happy hour.
And the food is outstanding when you go there for dinner. I mean, when I have friends coming in from New York, out of town, where I write to Coda, I said, this is how you impress them. This is where you impress them.
That's where you and I always meet for
That's right.
things.
Everybody I've ever met in town is, I think, I've met him at Coda.
I think everybody already has been there.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, we got James coming up in just a few minutes. So. Ileana, why don't we take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment with James Davis from the Black Parents Workshop.
In right field, the crowd is tormenting Strawberries, singing Darryl, Darryl. It's a tough time for any kid.
And welcome back to the SOMA Talks Podcast. I'm Lee Navlen. I'm here with Ileana Castillo. And Ileana, we have our first big-time guest on our show. We're very excited. Mr. James Davis of the Black Parents Workshop. James, thank you very much for coming down. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. People don't usually invite me to anything, so this is a good change.
Well, I'll tell you what, James. Actually, you were the first person we wanted on the show, and we've actually invited some other guests to come on the show, and they're all saying kind of, well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe, it sounds like an opportunity, but you didn't say but. You said when do you guys need me? So we really appreciate that because.
Well, I'm not scared of you, Lee. So,
well, you should be scared of Ileana. So,
I left her name out on purpose.
Ileana is the shark here in the room. I'm
good little angel.
Yeah, I make the fart jokes, and Ileana, she asks the tough questions. Matter of fact, Ileana, you have I think 72 questions for James, right? I think that was
that sounds about right.
Well, you are called SOMA Talks, right?
That's right. The SOMA Talks
very
podcast.
appropriate to be talking.
Yeah,
that's right. So James, I guess. We have a lot of questions for you. Obviously, for those out there, James is you're an attorney as well as with the Black Panther Workshop. Did I say Black Panther Workshop?
You said Black
that could fit too, actually. It's a good ring to it.
Black Panther Workshop. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that was a joke. That was I wrote, but no, Black Parents Workshop. But why don't we talk a little bit about what you do with BPW?
Okay, so BPW, actually, we're having our 10-year anniversary this year, and. Back when it first started, I wasn't part of the original group. I didn't join until several years later. But the main goal of Black Parents Workshop, well, there's actually two. The first, I'll say, is to influence the educational infrastructure of the public school system. And it just so happens, since we live here, this is kind of our focus at this point. But over the years, we have been asked to help other school districts or people in school districts navigate their own issues. And so, your group will hear it first. We're actually, for our 10-year anniversary, kind of rebranding ourselves to be something very similar, to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And so what we'll be doing is taking our experiences here and spreading them more officially, like nationwide, with other school districts. So look for that announcement sometime this summer, actually.
Excellent. Now, I know that BPW kind of launched years ago. It was Walter Fields, I believe, was
Walter Fields, yes.
Right, and I know he had his daughter was in school and she had some issues. I don't need to get back into that so much, but you got involved a few years ago. Now, reading your bio, I see you have 4 children. You're a busy guy. You're a lawyer. Your bio says you also love golf, by the way.
Try to get out there when I can.
Give me some pointers. But you're a busy man, so for you to take on this is a time-consuming, thing for you to do. I mean, some people might. I'm sure your friends will say, "What are you doing this for? Why are you so involved in this?" But obviously you're community-minded. Some people might not agree with your positions, but when someone steps up and says, "My community means a lot to me. I got to get involved. I have to make a difference." Talk a little bit about that.
Well, let's talk about how it all started, I guess. So I came from California, 2007. Moved to South Orange in 2008. And where I came from in California, I had already discovered that the public school system there was going to be a no-go for my kids. And so my oldest, who was in kindergarten at the time, was already in private school in kindergarten. Now, I hadn't really done the calculation in my head price-wise, but I was not going to go the public education route in California. So when I moved out here, my wife and I discussed, how we're going to navigate the school issue. So we decided that we'd have to find a public school system that could match our standards. And we looked anywhere from Montclair all the way down to Bridgewater. We came out here, and we liked the feel of South Orange Maplewood. And we'd heard several stories about the school. For example, our realtor, we were driving past Columbia, and she said, "That's Columbia High School. So it's a fantastic high school as long as your kids are on the right track."
Mm-hmm.
And, our kids were very small at the time, so we weren't quite sure what she meant.
We assume they're on the right track. You don't know until they're on the track.
Exactly.
Or off the track, as I learned.
And she kind of mentioned all the colleges that the kids on the right track can go to from this school. And then she kind of said, but if they're on the wrong track, and she shrugged her shoulders.
Right.
But again, our kids were very small, so we kind of took that for what it was worth at the time. Mm-hmm. So after starting in the school district, I was working in Bridgewater and New York, so I was going back and forth. And it was probably 2nd or 3rd grade for my oldest where some of the warning signs started to happen about, things a teacher would say and things like that. Nothing really grandiose in terms of issues, but things were kind of odd. Mm-hmm. Because at the time, we didn't know a lot of people, but we were meeting people, and the neighborhood was great, and the town feel was great, and was very diverse and all that kind of stuff. But there was something about the school that was not really adding up to everything else. And so as my other 3 kids got into the school, I found myself just dealing with issues I didn't think I'd have to deal with. And it started to become a bit unbearable, I'll put it that way. And so I got a little testy because I'm, paying all these taxes, and I'm having to talk to a teacher who doesn't seem to understand what, appropriate topics are for kids, who seem to be kind of steering my kids to a direction of, well, maybe you should think about vocational school was kind of one of the...
Right. You're getting right. They're saying to you, it's not our problem. You figure it out. Do something different. Maybe we can't. Right.
I mean, when a teacher mentions vocational school and your kids in elementary school, that's not quite the most encouraging environment where you
Right.
want your kid to go.
Right. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I don't want him to be
And
a
that's-
mechanic. And that's not a slight to those that are mechanics, but it's
No,
it's a little
exactly.
early in life to be determining,
And that was kind of the
he's
first.
he's going to be a blue collar kid.
Right. And that was kind of the first foray into some of the issues. And then once my son got into elementary school, it really became untenable in terms of how they were interacting with him on a daily basis. And so I became the mad dad, put it that way.
Ileana, by the way, you're the mad mom, so
That's true.
just mad at me usually on SOMA Talks. Ileana and I fight on SOMA Talks. We have disagreements, and
Well, there's nothing wrong
So
with
just so you know, this team here, this is
disagreements.
not a team. Yeah, we've had our issues, but the bottom line is what I love about Ileana and what I like about you. If you don't like it, you say something, and that's not everyone does it, and people get aggravated. I know there's a difference between those that Ileana, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but those that just type on the social media pages complaining, that's different than the people that actually step up to the plate, I think, and try to make a difference. So for those of you that have an issue with James Davis because you're familiar with some of the things he's been involved with, look. He's sitting here. He's willing to talk to you. He'll take your call, right? You'll meet people on
Take a call.
Yeah, maybe not a call, but if you're at the coffee shop, someone wants to sit down with you.
Lee, I have never been hard to find.
Right.
I'll put it
and
that
I
way.
appreciate that. Which brings us, and Ileana, I know you want to take it from here, but I know that the free Sanchez signs, I see them all over town. Now, my kid graduated high school, so it's one of these things like once your kid's out of school, you kind of stop paying attention a little bit to what's going on with the school system. We see the free Sanchez signs. We know you're involved. We know, I believe you're the lawyer for the student that is involved in the situation, the reason Sanchez is suspended and I guess facing charges. But Ileana, maybe you have some questions?
Well, to be fair, I think neither Lee or I I don't think we haven't taken any position regarding
No,
the
I have no
Sanchez
position
saga.
at all.
I
I never met Sanchez.
I
I
always
don't
tell
know.
everybody I will stay neutral until I see evidence, because I feel like a lot of people don't know really what went down. We only hear like pieces here and there in social media. One person says this, someone but then both information doesn't add up. A lot of people's going with Sanchez because he's a likable guy, and probably he is a likable guy. I don't know him because I don't have any kids in Columbia High School yet. I've talked to students. Some students says, yeah, they're all they're backing up Sanchez. And I'm like, how are you backing up Sanchez when you don't know the full story? And I think this is where we would like you to clarify what you can. How do you see we call it Sanchez saga. Well, that's what everybody will know.
Sanchez
So,
Gate.
okay,
Right.
Sanchez
Everybody's
Gate.
got something.
But from your perspective, what can you tell us about the situation? Do you think the district handled it well? Why did it took so long to address this situation? Like, who is in fault here? Like, what can you tell us? Because I know a lot of people want to know your side, how you see this.
Sure. Let me contrast it with some other events that have happened
Okay.
during the same school year, 2023.
Okay. Yeah, because this happened 2023, correct?
Right. The incident happened in March.
Okay.
March of 2023.
March 2023. In April of 2023, there was a 4-year-old student who was hung upside down by a teacher at Montrose Preschool.
Oh, right, yeah.
So if you look at the facts of that particular incident, that teacher was removed the next day. That teacher was summarily fired, terminated a couple weeks later. Child Services reviewed. I think there's still an open investigation at the prosecutor's office, although there's been no charges.
Do you know which school?
It was Montrose Preschool.
Oh, Montrose.
And this was all reported in the Village Journal.
I mean, okay.
But as most issues that happen in our school district, like I've got 4 kids. I've been here a long time. And if you don't look at my Facebook persona, I'm a very affable person. So I've gotten to know a lot of people in the school district, from the superintendent all the way down to a lunch aide. So once my name started to get out there years ago as someone who wasn't afraid to speak up on different topics, the byproduct of that was I would get messages about things happening in the school district from staff members, students, parents.
Make that very clear, because a lot of people think that you're just out there looking for stories. Like you're the one pursuing things, and they don't understand that it's parents coming to you.
It's basically like the bat signal goes up, and it usually happens, well, I'll say primarily happens when they've exhausted their other means of trying to handle it. People generally don't want their issues out front.
Right. You're right. You want things when your kid's in trouble. The last thing in the world you want to do is you want to blow it up into a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
You're right. But when you don't get the satisfaction or the resolve that you're hoping for,
Then
so
turn
in
to
this
someone
case,
like me.
in this case, the students did her parents approach you? Is that
It wasn't the parents, but it was someone that she trusted.
okay?
And it was actually probably late April. I mean, based upon the timeline now, it was after she filed her complaint.
Okay.
What took her so long? Do you know why? Or she was nervous, or the parents were hesitant to say something, or
Well, the family is from Haiti, and generally there's a big cultural gap from people who are first generation folks here
oh, I know.
and how they deal with the school
Right.
district. And I've seen that almost like consistently a pattern.
Right.
And so parents in that situation approach things differently than I would.
Sure. Look, if you're second or third generation or fourth generation, whatever, you're going to walk into the superintendent's office, guns are blazing and ready to, say, hey, you're going to take care of my kid. You're going to do the right thing. You just moved here. You're here a short period of time, a few years.
There's
a
definitely a
certain-
difference.
And that's right. Understood.
And
That's
so
I agree with you there.
I believe, because I don't know for sure, I believe that I was reached out to basically try to resolve it. But the issue becomes when someone within the school district ecosystem contacts me. If I were to make an issue out of it, people would then try to figure out who that person was. And then that person's job could be in jeopardy. So I've always been very careful with knowledge I learn, with information that I obtain, so as not to harm someone who, in essence, just is trying to help someone else. Because it's important for people to trust that the information that I'm given is just not going to be wantonly utilized.
Sure.
I don't get paid generally for the things that I do, but at the end of the day, you asked me the question why I do this.
Right.
I do this because where I come from, the community I was part of as a kid, we never really left anyone behind. And if you look at the people I've either helped or attempted to help over the years, these aren't people with resources like mine.
Right.
These are people who can't afford the $400 an hour lawyer. These are people who may not know whom to contact, so they hear BPW and our reputation, so they reach out that way.
By the way, that's Black Parents Workshop. I apologize. It's not the Black Panther Workshop. I don't know why I said that, but I did say
But it does have a nice
And,
It's a good tagline.
Right.
So think about that. I might have to trademark that myself and get the website URL.
It's like the 21st century version of the Black Panthers, right? The
Oh,
Black Panther
man.
Workshop. We sit, but
Well, to that point, I was mentioning the Legal Defense Fund iteration that we're going to create. It is actually a combination of the old and the new.
okay.
Which is modeling ourselves after what Thurgood Marshall and others had created to basically be a more modern version of that.
Okay. Right.
We've already kind of started it with our settlement with the school district. However,
Now, the settlement with the school district is involving what?
that is something that we did back in 2018.
Okay.
We had attempted to do different things like help with the revision of the code of conduct and some other things.
Right. Remember that again? That was Village Green. That was picked up. The local media.
What we discovered, though, over the years was that the pattern of the school district, it didn't really matter who was really in charge, was that they would make some commitments, but there was never any real material follow through.
Mhm.
And then they would just kind of forget what you committed to,
Yeah.
what you agreed on. And we said that we need to find a different way. And so that's when we start to go back into our history books to see, well, how did they do it before?
Right.
They went to court.
Mhm.
And so, if you look at our settlement, we had 3 plaintiffs who were all given a settlement. But BPW as an organization, we didn't get any money. Our lawyer got
You
paid,
see, a lot of people
Right.
think that.
but we didn't get any money
Right. So
personally.
you out of all this, you're not driving around in a brand new BMW and said, "Hey, look at me, look at me." That none of that was not
That
not
was
a
not the
situation. This was
case,
not a
no.
profitable
If people
endeavor
understood the amount of hours we put into preparing for that lawsuit, in terms of reading documentation, in terms of preparing ourselves in case we were called into a deposition, things of that nature, we could have charged a whole lot of money for that.
Right.
But our attorney was working pretty much, again, pro bono up until the settlement, and he was paid his attorney's fees, which by and large for the time he spent was actually pretty low.
Right. Understood. Right.
If you consider his
and it was
hourly
a lot of
rate.
work. Right. It's a lot of work to come after a school system. I
But
mean,
when people don't like you personally, they have to either try to discredit you or just use ad hominems.
right. Right.
People will more likely talk about my demeanor or my attitude, but
Yeah.
they'll never talk about my effectiveness.
Right. Ileana, you're familiar with that, by the way.
That's true.
A lot of people don't like Ileana's demeanor, but I do. That's why I'm doing this show with Ileana. But so getting to the Sanchez situation, and Ileana, I know you have questions again.
No, he was. I would like him to continue. You'd said that.
Well, I want to contrast it with the teacher that was removed and terminated. So if you go back to March 9th,
Oh yeah.
after the incident, Mr. Sanchez was never removed. Mr. Sanchez was never
That
investigated.
goes back to the Montrose.
In fact, it was my client who was suspended the next day.
Okay.
However,
Why was she suspended? I'm sorry to interrupt you because I know a lot of people question why was she suspended? Like, if she's the victim, why is the victim being
you'd have
suspended?
to
That
you'd
makes
have
no
to
sense.
ask Mr. Sanchez that, because when a child is suspended,
And that's very hard to get suspended
Well,
in this
it's-
school district in Maple South Orange.
well, it's not just hard, but when you get suspended, at that point, you're required to follow state law. And there are certain documents that are supposed to be created and submitted in the child's file, which are not present.
Oh, really?
And so my question has been, where's the documentation? Why was she suspended? We still don't know.
They haven't given
to
you an
this day.
answer?
Well, I mean, he's not at school anymore.
More.
And because of the situations, no one's going to actually admit. But we've made multiple requests for all of her records. I'll tell you, every time I make a request, another record materializes. Part of the request came from, I'm not going to mention any names today, but I'll say a board member made various statements on a post earlier this year. And I read that post very carefully. And based upon those words, I said, well, if that happened, then this should be in her file. If that happened, then this should be in her file. If that happened, then this should be in her file. And so I submitted an email the very next day and said, based upon your own former board member statements, these documents should have been created at the time. So please provide them to us because our client has a right to them. These are her school records.
Now,
And-
is this what was the crazy situation? I followed it with I kind of on my phone in the morning, looking at the SOMA Talks and so forth. Was this the board member that the crime report or the report was sent to the police before it
Yeah,
was
that's
completed?
the one.
What's that? Is
Yeah, so
Can we say allegedly and I can say her name?
say allegedly all you want to, but so here's kind of the timeline of sorts. As I mentioned, I didn't even speak with the student until late April, early May. But it was a very brief conversation because at that point, what she had shared was that she had filed a complaint of her own. And so I said, okay, let's see how that plays out.
Why would she file a complaint?
She filed a complaint of what happened to her on March 9th.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so there's a policy called the student grievance or pupil grievance policy, which permits students to file a complaint against a staff member if there was some activity between the two that the student, and this young lady advocated for herself. So over the course of the next several months, I would check in. Has anyone talked to you about your complaint yet? No. Month 1. Month 2. Has anyone talked to you about your complaint yet? No. Month 3. Has anyone talked to you about your
They
complaint
usually are
yet?
pretty fast. When you file a complaint, they're pretty quick, 2 or 3 days
Like
later.
I said, if you contrast this situation with the preschool, there's a big difference in how that teacher was treated and how Mr. Sanchez was being treated. And then
Now, was that student, by the way, hung upside down? Was that a white student? Was that a black student?
the child was black.
Was black. Okay.
I'd actually spoken with that child's grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I always say that not everyone likes to make their issues
Sure.
front and center,
Yeah,
and they
most
have
people
their
don't.
own,
Right.
they have their own way of handling it, and so that family decided to handle it their own way.
Now, this student in the high school, was she? I know she was a black girl, right? A black girl. Did she have a history of violence? Did she have a history of aggression? Was there any reason that Sanchez would say, she's up to no good again. I got to stop her before she tackles somebody or gets violent again? Is there a history of that here? What am I missing? I guess. Well, why would Sanchez? So what I've read is he allegedly took her and held her up and hit her against a wall or something and trying to get her to stop from charging someone else. I mean, this is what I'm hearing from just the social media.
I'll say this. I don't want to become a witness myself. What's in the charging document is accurate.
Okay, which is what?
There was some grabbing, pushing, things of that nature. As far as her history, she is a special needs student.
Okay.
And when you have a special needs student with, I'm not going to go into detail about what the requirements are around her supports, but if those supports aren't there or if those supports are ignored, things can happen and you do develop a certain reputation.
Right.
And I know that from personal experience as well. So what I say to that is anything that might have happened before that was not happening on that day.
Okay.
And there was no reason for Mr. Sanchez to put his hands on anyone. And I think if the school district handled his situations even similar to the 4-year-old, we probably wouldn't be here today.
Okay.
I think the reason we're here, and I say think because I don't actually know, is because it appears to be some type of cover-up.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of discussion around how the police got involved and all those kind of things. But I'll tell you right now, there is a document called the New Jersey School District Law Enforcement Memorandum of Understanding. And if there are certain events that happen between a student and a student, a student and a teacher, a student and a staff member, 2 groups are supposed to be called. Child Services, otherwise known as DCPP, and or Maplewood Police.
Okay.
And South Orange Police if you're at the South Orange School. Okay. Again, those things did not appear to be happening. There's some other issues I can't get into around that, but I'll say this. It was a shock to me when we got the phone call that the county prosecutor wanted to speak with our client. We were preparing what we thought to be her claims against the school district for the delay, for the assault, in our opinion. things of that nature. And then it was about January, maybe like the third week or so,
Okay.
that I got a phone call from an attorney at the prosecutor's office asking if we could bring our client down for an interview. So, the fact that they were even looking at it, I'll give you my opinion. Personally, there have been so many cases over the years that the prosecutor's office has not taken up.
This one they took up.
And I didn't even think it was going to go anywhere, to be honest with you.
So is with Sanchez, what do you want him fired? Do you want him in prison? I mean, I hear prison, I'm like, what? And I go, for being a principal, what is the apt punishment in your estimation? How does this resolve?
I'm not going to speak to the criminal aspect because I didn't cause that.
Yeah.
So if the county believes that, that's the county.
Mm-hmm.
Our claim is a civil claim, and we haven't filed a lawsuit yet.
Okay.
So at this point, we're really still gathering facts.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, I don't even believe I have all the documentation yet
Okay. Yeah.
that I should have.
Right.
And again, this is based upon people who've been associated with the school district speaking on Facebook
Right.
about different facts that are happening.
So the Board of Ed, we have a revolving door of superintendents. I mean, it's this guy's gone, this guy is suspended, this guy's fired. It doesn't seem to stop. I mean, is that part of the? So is there a cover-up or is it just incompetence? Or is it a little bit of both?
It could be a little bit of both, and I say for this reason. If you look at what's going on in our school district right now, and I've been here a long time, my kids my youngest are graduating this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a pretty good sense of, 4 kids, everyone's had different teachers or the same teachers, but that's a lot of interactions with teachers
Yeah.
over, the time period in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen things ebb and flow over the years. I've never seen it this bad
Okay.
in so many different areas. I'm going back to...
Did you read what happened today? 28 people.
Well, that was
go.
already mentioned a couple weeks ago, right? But this stuff is not just happening overnight. I was at the meeting where Dr. Taylor came in to speak with the community at the high school library. And I remember that night because he said all the right things. Again, we have a couple of educators in Black Parents Workshop. We can talk about our membership too if you want to do that.
Yeah, sure.
And so because of those connections, people from other districts will, relay information to us. Oh, this person has this reputation. This person has that reputation. We heard things about Mr. Sanchez before he started that were kind of concerning. But, we're not hiring anybody. But we do have opinions. Again, I think if people look at my history, I don't think reactionary is one word people would use with me.
Okay.
Again, they may not like my style.
Mm-hmm.
They may not like my demeanor. They may not like my manner. They may not like my method. But factually, it's debatable if I've been wrong more than right.
I got you. Fully. Look, this is a situation where a student, again, a minority student with immigrant parents, I guess, it's blown up to this point. You have a principal who is suspended. I mean, there's so many different T's to cross and I's to dot, and it seems like who's right, who's wrong, and maybe everybody's right. I just what kills me is the prison thing. That's how changing this up just a little bit. And who's going to want to be principal of Columbia High School? When it's like, what happens if I break up a fight?
Well, there was no fight. That was another thing that was said.
Okay.
So let me say it this way.
Yeah, that she was on her way to a fight, and that's why he stopped her.
Yeah, that wasn't true either. Mm-hmm. If there was a fight, number one, there should have been at least 2 kids suspended.
True.
But by and large, there should have been documentation around that incident.
Right.
And there is none.
Okay.
Number 2, schools are required to report those types of incidents to the state. Again, more documents that would reflect what happened that day, if it happened the way people are saying. But you realize that it started out, she was in the fight. And then once we came out and made some counter statements, it changed to she was going to fight.
Fine. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, right.
That
So,
is
And I'll
true.
say this, we had no plans, again, of really saying anything.
right.
But when someone decides to go on social media and make a lot of statements, we have to make the calculation. Do we sit back in the cut and say nothing and let the narrative metastasize that's not true? Or do we say something?
Yeah, no, it's a tough spot to be in. You know, you want to do the right thing for the student.
I have a question. Why do you think very little people sympathize with this child, with this student, and 90% is backing Sanchez?
I think there's a couple of things. One, children generally aren't believed in our school district. That's a historical fact.
Until it happens to you, of course.
Until it happens to you. All the way back to when the kids were beat up by the cops back in 2016.
And that was the July 4th,
Fourth.
5th, yeah, where they were...
People didn't believe the kids until the video came out. And only then did people start to rally around the kids.
Yeah, I
but
was
even
one of
then
them.
it was more...
I was one of them. I said, oh, come on. They're dragging the kids
I was there
across the border.
at the park, but I didn't see the commotion.
I didn't believe it. You look me back on social media. I was probably one of the guys. Oh, nonsense! The cops are good here. I was wrong. I was happy the police chief was let go. He needed to be let go. And Mayor DeLuca did the right thing there. So yeah, you're right. So people's. You know, when the evidence is there, obviously, in video form.
This is one of the reasons why I never really take things personally.
Right.
You know, if I took things personally, I'd be a mess right now. I just don't.
I'm even surprised that...
Ileana, I take things personally, just so you know.
Oh, I know you do.
Right, I get
I'm
it,
even surprised, and I will say this, that SOMA Justice, that it's always about protecting the Black community and everything. Have no...
Except when it comes to us.
Like, where are they standing this? Like, I'm surprised they completely ignored this child than taking Sanchez.
I can't really speak for... There's a lot of people in that group, right? So I can't really speak for every member.
But they're all about protecting Black community people. Like, they're all stand for so much justice.
They claim to be. I mean, I think the evidence.
Do you think it's
would
because
speak
you
for
guys are
itself.
involved and that's why they don't want to?
Of course. I mean,
But what that have to do with you? It's still a child. This is like...
if you recall the hijab matter.
With,
that was a big one.
With the that was at the Seth Boyden school,
Seth
right?
Boyden,
The
yeah.
little girl was a Jewish teacher, allegedly tampered with her headpiece, her headdress, the hijab, and
that has been unsolved. That's another one.
That was actually investigated by the county prosecutor.
right.
We never knew what happened. We knew she never came back.
Well, there was no criminal charges filed,
Right.
but we weren't really arguing that to begin with. Again, you're required to report certain things,
Right.
right? And so what I want is for either one, the school district who has the requisite personnel to conduct a proper investigation into the activities of their staff members and or students when it requires. But if I have no confidence in that, then someone from the outside needs to come in and take a look at it. That way, you know, at least it wasn't a quote unquote cover up, or there was any kind of skirting of proper procedure to protect someone unnecessarily. Because again, the issue of Sanchez, my client was the one who was suspended. And I'll say suspended more than once.
Right. And
without
Boyden,
proper
it was
documentation.
It was a teacher that was suspended, so it was.
And in the
all the teachers
Montrose-
always get suspended. The jihad thing, the teacher got suspended. The Jewish teacher.
Now, why they didn't bring her back after the criminal thing, I don't know.
No. Right.
She's on definitely, yeah. And she got suspended right away. Same thing with the Montreux teacher. She got suspended too. Why Sanchez? Everybody's like, stay for
Again,
what, another year?
There's a big contrast between how the district has managed these types of affairs. And so my question is,
Who do we
why
blame?
the difference?
Do we blame the Board of Ed or the staff and the district? Who do we blame? A little bit of everybody?
Here's my take on it, and that's just me. I don't know if
Your
right.
opinion, of course.
Now, I kind of alluded to this earlier. When you look at our financial situation, when you look at the matter regarding Sanchez, when you look at our special education department and all the issues there, when you look at the bus situation, when you take all those things that have happened in the last year or two, and you look at who was in charge for the last 4 years, who, when he came in, Dr. Taylor, he was permitted to hire anyone he wanted for his staff. He didn't have to take any legacy staff. Everyone he hired was under his leadership. And so things don't turn bad overnight, but over time, when they turn bad, it's hard to right the ship quickly. And we have a lot of areas right now that are, in my experience here, all at the same time, not very good. And that's partly because I think of his leadership or lack thereof. I think part of it too is how our board interacts with the superintendent, and they have one employee to hold accountable. I don't see any evidence over the last 4 years of any accountability for Dr. Taylor through our board. And I'll say this. When we settled with the Black Parents Workshop settlement with the school district, it was July 2020. The settlement itself was supposed to last 3 years, okay? The first year was kind of a wash because that was COVID. We weren't going to require anything for the first year. Everyone was out of school anyway, so
this district had its hands full just trying to.
We stood down.
Yeah.
We weren't required to.
Yeah.
We could have pushed the envelope, but the point was, why would we do that? Everyone's going through a tough time right now.
Yeah, right. And they're gonna blame you, you for all the mistakes that this
They
district
still
was
do
making,
anyway.
right?
But
did they ever get those air conditioning units in or whatever the vents? You remember that?
Another issue.
Right.
That's another
but
issue.
when school recommenced, I've had, I think, 2, maybe 3 meetings with Dr. Taylor over his time here regarding the settlement. One of the first meetings was with him and the assistant superintendent of access and equity. And we kind of talked about just loosely how we're going to manage the settlement, right? Operationally. Should we meet quarterly just to kind of keep tabs on things, whatever. He made a lot of, good statements. None of them really happened. And then over time, it was clear to me that he had no intention of fulfilling anything with respect to the settlement.
Okay.
And that's about the time I started getting vocal about it online. Before that, I was not saying anything. But I was in a position where if I don't say anything, I'm not inclined to think that everything has to go to court. Mm-hmm. And I did want to give him an opportunity, to be committed.
Do you know why you believe he didn't want to enforce that?
I have no idea. But again, I'll just say that I got a call from someone I didn't know who knew me. And that person told me that they were concerned about the school district's commitment to the settlement.
Okay. All right. It makes a lot of sense. So let me ask you something. So this guy with this Free Sanchez sign on his front lawn, he walks up to you and he says, "James, hi, I'm the Free Sanchez lawn guy." And what's your elevator pitch to this guy so that he understands your side of the story? He was a great principal. He was great to my kid. The last principal was terrible, and it was great. He was going to the events. He was at the football games. He was high-fiving the kids in the hallway. The school was running better than it had. What's your elevator pitch to the Free Sanchez lawn sign guy?
I don't know if I really care about that, to be quite frank with you. Again, I don't take responsibility for the prosecutor making this decision, so I don't feel like I have to have an explanation for someone on that.
Okay.
I would just say, with respect to my client, they did not follow procedure, and we're acting accordingly. Mm-hmm. But for the statements I've seen that I think I weaponized the criminal justice system, I think I caused him to be arrested. I mean, if I was actually that powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would probably be on TV right
Yeah,
now,
right now.
Yeah.
or,
and that-
or another line of work.
And
I
that's
mean,
tough because this is not only, these are neighbors and these are people, your children's people that they may have friends. I mean, so it's a tough spot for you. And I fully get that. Yes, this is not an easy thing for you.
I have
It's-
a person that wanted me to ask you this. If Sanchez is found guilty, do you think 10 years is the right punishment, or do you think...
well, first of all,
Because that's what everybody's talking, that he found guilty, they'll give him 10 years. And a
think-
lot of people think
yeah.
that's kind of absurd.
I think most people that believe that probably haven't had a lot of dealings with the criminal justice system. Because generally what happens, and I've never been arrested, but I've known people who have been.
Me neither, just for the record.
I was arrested, but it was expunged.
Right.
just for the record.
What generally
I was
happens
underage.
is the prosecutor or district attorney or whomever, depending on what TV show you watch, will charge you with the idea that what they charge you with will basically invoke some type of plea to a lesser charge.
Okay.
'Cause if you look at what they've charged him with, it's second-degree child endangerment and simple assault.
So,
There are a lot of stuff in between there that they skipped,
okay.
right? And so, again, I get it. Not everyone is a lawyer, but it's not really my job to educate the community on how the county prosecutor works when I don't even work there.
So where did they get the 10 years?
Second-degree child endangerment does have a presumption of jail time.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a
And that's
serious
like
charge.
the maximum that's the maximum 10 years? That's where they get the 10 years?
It's a serious charge. I mean, all you got to really do is go back and search who's actually been convicted
The-
and see what their actions were versus his.
Got it.
But again, it kind of depends on him as well. If he decides to roll the dice and go to trial,
Do you think they can come to an agreement before taking this to court? Like some
I have
settlement?
no idea. I don't know what his defense would be. I don't know what his attorney. I heard he's good. So, maybe you could pull a Johnny Cochran and get him, acquitted, whatever.
Is there any chance he'll be principal again, or you don't see that, or that's?
I'm not well versed on tenure for people. I've heard different things. I put it that way. I've talked to a number of different people about it, and I've heard like at least 5 or 6 different iterations of what could happen. None of which have him coming back per se.
Okay.
Teaching again, it kind of depends on, I think, again, what the end result is.
Okay.
I
Like
think
if it-
people have hope that he's going to come back. I really think.
I mean, the
At
people
least
with the,
pro
with the
Sanchez.
signs, yeah. I mean, it sounds like
You
a
know what's
difficult
funny? I
test
was
for me.
just at Coda and leaving. You know that Coda have that board where you could put flyers and everything. There's
Sure.
a flyer about Frank that says, "Help us raise $50K for Frank's 50th.
Yeah. The community is
Donate to CHS Principal Frank Sanchez Defense Fund."
Well, let's put it this way. So what if you are 16, 17 years old? You believe you've been assaulted by a staff member. The next day, you get suspended. Over the course of the month, you're trying to figure out, is it going to happen again when I go back to school? And then someone convinces you or helps you file your own complaint under your name, under your signature. You file that complaint thinking that you're going to get it reviewed, and nothing happens for months. And then when something finally does happen, he gets removed, and then a few months later, he gets arrested, but everyone's trying to save him, and no one is even thinking you told the truth, because they're saying you were fighting.
Is the student back in school, by the way? Is she back at Columbia, or is she? You don't want to discuss
I'll
that.
say she's still being educated.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, but her life's been upended. It's different. Her life. Never mind the whole free Sanchez.
Well, I think it's kind of hard for her to come back because the whole school is backing Sanchez, and she come. I mean, I wouldn't bring my child back.
So we actually have received the original report that was done by an attorney named Carl Taylor. And in that report, it's very interesting because there were 2 students that he interviewed
Oh, is that the first investigation? That everybody?
Yes,
Okay.
who were eyewitnesses to what happened. And if you look at their statements, one of the students actually pushed Sanchez off of our client and took her to a trusted staff member. And I've spoken to this young man, and no one's even talking about the fact that he actually put himself at risk
He did.
to help this girl. And so I
Now,
say to
was
you,
he reprimanded at all for that? Was he?
I asked him that question. He said that he did have a conversation with Sanchez, but he, the student, was not reprimanded.
Okay.
Now, but if you look at his statement, his own words, I pushed him off of her and took her away.
And nobody wants to talk about that.
No one has talked about that. Everyone has to stick to.
I feel like everybody's
she's a
blind with the
troublemaker.
Sanchez thing. Like
Well-
everybody, oh, he's a good man. Okay, but good people can make a mistake. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was intentional. I don't know, but
If they had done what they were supposed to do in March of 2023, we would not be here
they would have
right
handled it
now
better.
talking about anyone being arrested. We may be talking about following policy, following procedure properly, which does not require any jail time. So again, I'm not taking responsibility for these adults attempting to obfuscate, cover, whatever you want to call it, and then bearing the results of that. I'm an observer as well.
Right. Well,
People would like to believe that I reached out to the prosecutor's office because it makes their narrative easier. But the facts are, we were called that they wanted us to come talk to them. Now, if you want to ask me about that conversation, I can go into that a little bit.
the conversation with
The prosecutor.
Sure. Yeah. And by the way, listen, if anybody on the Sanchez side wants to come in and do what Mr. Davis is doing, you're more than welcome. So we appreciate you coming in, your candor, telling us your side of the story, and again, many thanks. But yeah, your conversation with the prosecutor.
So this was February. There's a building they use, the county prosecutor's office uses for what I'll call juvenile or adolescent meetings. And we were supposed to be meeting with the county prosecutor, Maplewood PD, and Child Services. And they interviewed our client without us in the room. But we had a conversation with them afterwards. And again, this is February. And again, I'm very skeptical of the prosecutor at this office for a lot of different reasons.
Okay.
So we're there, but I'm like, there's no way they're going to do anything. I've never seen them do anything like this before. So there's no way. But I left that office feeling like they're serious. And I say that because it was clear to me that the prosecutor had multiple meetings going on at once. She was kind of darting back and forth to a hearing, to an interview. And I said, no one's going to call us down here unless it's important to call us down here. And in speaking with the detective, it was clear that they were concerned about the length of time this took to come out. And I said, had it not been almost a year before all these reports were done, before the second report had come, all these different things that were happening, I think that was causing people to scratch their heads to say, why is there a second report? I mean,
that's another
what's
one.
going
Why
on
are
here?
both reports so different? I read that online several times. Like,
Right.
Well, you have to ask the law firm that, but I can just give you kind of a attorney context. The first report is what I would expect a report to include. Interviews of witnesses, interviews of the people involved in the interaction of, and call it that, okay? It seemed pretty clear to me that this attorney was trying to do a thorough job.
Okay.
There's a few things I might have done differently, but I think it's just stylistically, different.
But
The second one
report,
was, in essence, a reinterpretation of the facts without interviewing any witnesses. And so, in my opinion, it's almost like two jurors who see the facts differently.
okay.
Now, if you...
And this is the one that everybody believes more, the second report.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
No, that's true.
I just thought...
The public opinion, let's put it that way.
Again, it raises the question, why are you doing a second memo if the first memo witnesses were not re-interviewed or additional facts? The only additional fact I think he raised was the surreptitious video taken by Sanchez of my client, which I've questioned the district about and gotten no answer, by the way. That was a violation of her privacy rights.
Oh, the video?
Oh, yeah. There's a policy in the school district that you cannot record anyone, staff member, student.
Oh, he recorded her in the
Without-
office, right?
Yeah, the video,
Why did he
I'll
do
describe
that?
it for you. So we're in a room right now. There's a desk behind you, Lee. If I'm the student and you're Sanchez, because it's a video recording, not just an audio. The video is like his phone pointing up.
Mm-hmm.
So when you lean back in your chair, the back of his head kind of comes into view.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 30 minutes long.
Have you seen this video?
Oh, I have it. I requested it as soon as I realized there was one, because I didn't know that until the second memo came out.
Come on.
Again, when people talk, there are certain documents we're entitled to based upon the context of being a student in that school district and a staff member recording surreptitiously or whatever.
And legally, he couldn't do that.
Well, that's the question. So under federal law, I could make an argument that it's a violation. Under state law, it's only one-party consent. Under school policy, it's a violation. So it's kind of complicated, I guess, but that's the reality of it. Any way you look at it, though, school policy says you cannot record a student, staff member without their permission.
Do you know the context of that conversation?
Yeah.
Can you say what was the context?
Uh,
Highlight it. You don't have to
It's-
say exactly word
it's
by word.
unclear.
Like, was he questioning her, like, the
No.
ruffling or the
No.
fight, or what are you going to do? Was he nervous that she might?
I'll say there was a plan to it, but I can't tell what the plan
Oh,
was.
okay.
And I'll say this, about halfway through, a staff member comes by, and that staff member is invited in by my client to have a conversation with them as well.
Oh.
And that's how it ends. So whatever the plan might have been, not sure exactly what the goal was, but they felt it was important enough to include in the second report.
Report.
But anyway, that's that.
Well, we have to wrap things up in just a few minutes. So basically, Ileana, James, really appreciate you coming in for our first show. Ileana, you got yourself, you did a great job on our first guest, I got to tell you. We were worried it was going to be Paul J. Haley.
No comment.
No comment is right. But anyway, just a reminder that our show is sponsored by Coda Kitchen and Bar. Okay, so that's a great restaurant in Maplewood, James. I'm sure you've been there. It's one of the best restaurants, I think, in New Jersey. Luke Finn is the owner there. Again, he sponsored us. And let's not forget, he also owns the Outer Borough Deli, which is right next door. So Luke had so much success with Coda, he decided that he'd open a second place for his delicious food, and this is more of a takeout situation. So Coda Kitchen and the Outer Borough right next door. We hope that you have a chance to visit both. Ileana, any closing remarks that you want to say to Mr. Davis before we call it a day?
There's going to be a time I'm probably going to call you again because there's so many questions still I have. Outside from the Sanchez saga, there's other questions that come to mind about Black Parents Workshop and other things you've done for the community and your situation with SOMA Justice. That a lot of people are very nosy to know what's the issue between you guys, but you don't have to talk about that right now. That'll be to be continued. That'll be James Davis Part 2 interview.
All right.
No, I appreciate the invite. I appreciate the questions. I appreciate you providing the opportunity for us to kind of tell our perspective on this.
I think it was the right thing to do. People need to hear your...
And again, I'm not saying anything regarding the prosecutor's decision because I'm not controlling that. But I will say our kids are entitled to being treated correctly under the law, under policy. And it doesn't matter if you're James Davis's kid or you're a kid of a parent who doesn't know how the legal system works. You're supposed to get the same amount of equal treatment. And we're here to kind of level the playing field on that.
I agree.
Excellent. Well, we're broadcasting from the podcast studios at Your Third Base. That's on Springfield Avenue. So they've got some beautiful studios here at Your Third Base on Springfield Avenue. So anyone interested in doing a podcast,
Hey, don't give them ideas.
You might want to do it here. You might want to do it here. But yeah, they do charge a lot. Well, no, they don't.
No, okay.
They're very reasonable. But James, again, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
really
thank you
appreciate
so
you coming in.
much.
Ileana, Castillo, Lee Navlen, James Davis. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.